Here's the thing, guys. When we talk about money today, values of assets trump your credit score and they trump over your debt to income ratio. That all has to do with what's called conforming lending, okay? And if you guys want to get into ADUs, multifamily, and investment real estate, you have to understand this stuff. Make sense? Does it make sense? Yeah? Okay. Now, when we go in and we talk about finances, everything is based on asset value and comps, okay? Because what do banks make money doing, guys? How do banks get paid? They get paid by lending money, yeah? What are they lending money on? Are they lending it to your social security number and your 800 credit score? Or are they lending it to assets? To assets, guys. Cash producing assets. If you leave this earth tomorrow, we pray that you don't. But if you do, what is the bank leveraging if you're not around anymore?
Your property.
Your property, the cash value of that property. The reason they use your debt to income ratio and the reason that they use your credit score is because you're the only thing holding the revenue for that house that you live in. Houses are worthless when it comes to banks because all they have is you. The difference about asset lending and the difference about investment lending and the difference about building shit new is that the bank has a cash production that asset is bringing to the table. Does that make sense? Okay, I need you guys to think about this for a second because this is the way banks look at it. When you guys go for loans, just like I did and the way I used to look at it, I would think that the bank is against me. I would always feel like, oh shit, I don't want to give the bank too much information because the bank is going to use it against me later. So what I would do is I try to hide information from the bank. How many of you guys have ever done that before? Be honest. Yeah, right? You feel like you're subjected to them, so you're trying to hide information from them. Look, guys, the banks are your friends. You need the banks need you. Without you, the banks can't function. Make sense? Now, you have to understand that they're looking for something specific. They're looking for cash production in assets. They want to know that they have a production of money that comes in on that asset. And they're doing it based on the value of it, based on either comps or pro formas, how that asset performs and what it performs on. That's what they're really lending money on, not you. Okay, now let's talk about this for a second. Value equals net operating income divided by its cap rate, okay? A cap rate is the rate of return that a piece of real estate brings in if provided you pay cash for it. It's just like a stock. You go out, you buy Intel stock, and if that stock brings you in 6%, that's your rate of return, right? You make 6% annually. If you go in, you buy an asset, $2 million, you pay cash for it, and then you get a 6% return on that $2 million at the end of that year, that's your cap rate. Make sense? Okay? It's your rate of return on the cash production of that asset. That's how value is assessed. This is the single most important formula that you need in your portfolio. That should be tattooed on your neck. Not your neck, you can't see it there. It should be tattooed your forehead backwards, so every time you look in the fucking mirror, you see it, okay? Now, you guys good? Yeah? Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that out at you guys like that. I'm sorry. I'm really not. Okay, now, let's say that we go in and we have a 10-unit apartment complex and that thing brings in $200,000 a year. Let's say that 35% of that goes out in expenses, property taxes, insurance, blowing leaves and weeds, going out and changing light bulbs and toilets, and you have about $120,000 left at the end of all of the money it brings in each year. Now, the cap rate has to be equal to or greater than the debt service that you have on that piece of property. Now, back in 2020, interest rates got down to how low, guys? About 2.5%, 3%, yeah? Okay, so we'll say like 3%. So cap rates have to be equal to or greater than the actual rate of return, the actual interest rate that you're paying in debt. Because if the interest rate's higher than the cash production, how do you pay the debt? Okay? So it has to be equal to or greater than. So back in 2020, when it was at about 3%, if that was our cap rate at 3%, because shit was selling for a sub 3% cap rate back then, guys, what is our value if you take $120,000 and divide it by 3%? What is it? 4 million? 4 million bucks? $4 million, guys. Approximately $4 million. Now, if you go into 2025, what are our interest rates today? Our debt coverage ratio is at 6.3%. Okay, today. That's our debt coverage ratio. That's the ratio that the banks are using to cover debt. What's wrong with all these markers? Okay, so if you plug this in as your cap rate to cover the debt on that, and you take that same $120,000, same renter, same tenants, same everything, guys, nothing's changed. Everything's the same. And rents have actually increased since then. But if you take this and all you do is you simply just change the debt coverage and the cap rate to a 6.3%, what is $120,000 divided by 6.3%, guys? Plug it into your phone. Pull your phones out. Plug it in. I want you guys to see it. $1.9 million, guys. This is your value today. How? How in the world did you go from 4 million to 1.9 million? Who called me?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I refer to the DCR as the ratio rate.
Yeah. It's your debt. Yeah. Yes, it's your average rate. This is your rate right now. But you need to be able to cover that with your debt coverage ratio. You got to be able to cover that 6.3%. So this 6.3%, I'm looking at it as an equivalence of your actual cap rate. So to cover that your property has to bring in to cover the annual percentage rate in order to stabilize that asset. Okay, I don't want to confuse people. I'm not going to get too technical there, because then I'll lose everybody. Okay, but you got it. You know, I know you know. Okay, so we take that 6.3%. And that's the debt that you have to cover. You have to be able to go in and cover the debt service on that property, okay? Now, that cap rate has to be equal to this. Now, that'll give you, when the banks are looking at that, guys, that gives the banks a valuation of $1.9 million. What happened to the other $2 million of value? Where is it? Where'd it go? It's gone. It disappears. Until those interest rates go back down, they're gone, okay? Now, here's why that's important to you guys, because everything that we do, guys, how many of you guys ever lost money in a real estate deal? Raise your hand. Be honest. Okay. How many of you guys never want to lose money on a real estate deal? I should see every friggin' hand up. Okay. I've never lost money on a real estate deal. Some fix and flips, I broke even. Maybe I lost a few dollars on them. Fix and flips suck, guys. Don't do them. It's like playing Russian roulette, man. You have a 6-barrel chamber and you put one bullet in there. You're just waiting for that bullet to hit, man. It's gonna blow your finances to pieces. Okay? And that's fix and flipping. Guys, we have the financial resources to do anything that we want now in real estate or anything else. If there was that much money in fix and flips, guess what I would be doing? Fix and flips. Why do I do ground up construction? I can control my variables. And the reason I can control my variables is because I understand it from all sides. Most developers only understand it from the development end. They don't understand the asset management side. They don't really even understand the construction side. They only understand the development side. The reason I understand it from all sides is because I was broke as shit and I had to wear every single hat when I was pulling myself out of nothing. Does that make sense? So I wore the hat of the real estate broker. I'm still a broker today. I wore the hat of the general contractor, the developer, the asset management side. We did our own property management. We did it all. Now that I'm in my 50s, I've been doing it for almost 30 years. Now I'm giving those hats away. Back to the general contractors. Now I'm wearing the ownership and the development side of it. And I'm going to teach you guys how to do it the way I wish I would have known how to do it 28 years ago. Make sense? Okay. Now, when we go in, guys, you have to understand this. This is what we underwrite our stuff to, is this right here. This is our worst case scenario. If you can understand how to buy something, and if you can stabilize it at your worst case scenario, guess what the positive side could end up being down the road? It has the potential to produce that and more. But if we underwrite to our worst case scenario, how are we doing? How are we doing? Yeah? We're doing okay. Because we want to be able to teach you guys how to go in and understand the value of an asset under your worst case scenario and how to build it for a rainy day. Make sense? And if you understand the underwriting on that, it protects you. So that's why you guys are here today. Because I'm going to give you guys, I am going to try to do everything I can to pour into you guys today with as much information as humanly possible. Why? I will give you my entire business model, and people say, well, why? You're going to compete against me. You guys can't compete against me. There is not probably one person in here that can take down a $70 million development and do it as an individual ownership group. That's what I do. That's what I've scaled to over the years. You guys aren't going to compete against me, but you guys will do this. And if you guys are sitting there going, why does this guy teach if he's making that much? Here's why. Because now I have a community of over 2,800 people that are part of our community. And as you guys go through this, I want you guys to think about this today. I'm incentivized by helping you guys kick ass and make money, okay? The reason my shirt says resume up is because you guys, how many of you guys want to get in multifamily again? Raise your hand. Okay, it's passive income, guys. It's passive residual income. And the best part of it is not even the passive part of it. The best part of it is you pay no taxes, no federal income taxes. That's the best part. I'm going to show you guys why. Okay, here's the thing, guys. You guys may never do a $70 million development, but how many of you guys would love to do a 30 unit or a 50 unit and own a 50 unit, 30 unit, 80 unit development at some point in time in your lives? Even just one of them, guys. Okay, the banks won't let you get into it. They won't allow you to own it, build it, or anything unless you have it on something on your resume. How do you get it on your resume? How? You have to do it, but you got to scale into it. Now, how many of you guys are like me? Like when I was 43 years old, guys, I went back to when I was back, like I was 43 years old in 2016, 17. Okay, so I was like, you know what? I don't have time for bullshit, right? I was like, I want to streamline this thing. And so when I went back in, I was in my young 40s. I said, okay, I want to figure this shit out and learn how to raise capital on this stuff. Okay. But I didn't know how to raise capital back in 2016. I bought my first 2 apartment complexes with my own money, my own cash, and I dumped $4 million of my own money to buy an 84-unit apartment complex. Then 6 months later, I bought an 80-some unit apartment complex, and I was working my ass off and pulled in. I said, man, I'm going to be doing this shit the rest of my life if I do this with my own capital. But if I go in and I build a community, I landed up going to this 10X growth conference from Grant. If you guys know him, he raised $30 million from stage in 2018. I said, fuck that, I'm doing it. That's how this came about, is I said, you know what? I'm going to build my own ecosystem where I could go in, raise capital, and it benefits the win-win situation. The Bible says it, iron sharpens iron, but it's iron with friction. Does that make sense? And so I get incentivized to help you guys make money. If you guys go out and if I take down another $70, $80 million development and all I do is help you guys go make $250,000 on a brand new build, how many of you guys would hate me for that? Or how many people you guys would love to do that? Raise your hand. Love to do that, yeah? What if I teach you guys how to go out and build a 20 unit, 10 unit, 8 unit apartment complex and it changed your life? I'm going to show you how today. How many of you guys would love that and wouldn't mind if I went out and even made more money? Because of our community, guys, and you guys will have an opportunity to be a part of our community at the end of it today. But here's the thing, guys. I built a community of 2,800 people so far over the last 8 years that are active people building in our community. If I send out an email today to my community or I get online in my weekly calls, I can raise about $4 million every 6 months from my community. That $4 million will allow me to go do a $30 million development. Does that make sense? Now, if I take that to 5,000 people, I could probably raise between $8,000 and $10,000 every $8 to $10 million every 6 months. Does that make sense? And guess what that does for you guys? The second you guys become a limited partner in one of my developments, you can put that on your resume. So if I have a 100-unit development, 200-unit development, 250-unit development, you guys go in, put 100 grand, 50 grand into one of my deals, you could put that on your resume as an ownership piece of it. Does that make sense? So the reason that I do this is, one, to teach you guys. 90% of you guys will never invest with me, and I'm okay with that. The other 10% of you guys that do, God bless your heart, we're gonna go get rich, and I'm gonna help you guys crush it. For the rest of you guys, the other 90% of you guys that just take the information and use it selfishly, which I encourage you to do, go crush it for your family. Does that make sense? So take everything I give you guys today because I have no other motive than that. That's truth on the table. Make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Now, when we go in, guys, I want you guys to look at real estate a little different. Usually I talk only about single family homes scaling to multifamily. Today, I'm going to talk about ADUs. Okay? Accessory dwelling units, or some people call it additional dwelling units, but they're the accessory dwelling units. How many people understand ADUs inside and out here in California or in San Diego specifically? Somewhat? Okay, so not very many of you. So I'm going to explain it to you guys because I do. Now, when we go in, guys, we have a lot, okay? And we'll look at the others. These exist everywhere. This is the San Diego ADU regulations. Every municipality is slightly different, okay? But the San Diego and the surrounding areas, they're somewhat similar, okay? Let's say you have a house that sits right here and a backyard. You could be 4-foot setbacks the existing house, okay? You got a 4-foot setback requirement. You could build a 1,200 square foot ADU, okay, in the back. That could be a 2-bed, 2-bath, which is called a 2-2. It could be a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet. You could easily build a 3-bedroom apartment, a 3-bedroom house. Okay, we do it with multifamily, and most of our 2-bedroom, 2-baths are 950 to 1,000 square feet. So you put in another 10 by 12 or another little 10 by 15 by 15 bedroom, you could sit and fit a 3-bed, 2-bath unit right back there. Now, you can do a junior ADU, which is only 500 square feet, okay? The money, guys, is in the ADUs, okay? Never sell an ADU unless you have to, okay? Never sell it. Now, if this doesn't allow you to, I need you guys to look at this not based on the price of this house right here. I need you guys to look at this based on the potential of this lot right here, okay? Because in the state of California, you could tear down everything but one wall. And if you like, you could just not tear down this one wall or even a fireplace, and you could permit that as a remodel. And that constitutes for you being able to go in and keeping one house, one wall, guys. You can go in, tear down everything else, and reposition this. You can keep the front wall and make this end right here and get something bigger in the back. And you can come in and slice it off right here, keep your front facade of your house if it sits that far forward. Did you guys know that? Did you realize that? And you could permit it as a remodel, and you still have your original dwelling here, because the rule says that you have to have an original dwelling on that lot in order to do this and this right here. Now, here's what the state of California also does, the state of California and San Diego specifically also says, is that if you commit one ADU to low income or affordable housing for 15 years, you can do one more additional ADU on that site. So if you can meet this 4-foot setback requirement on all of these areas, you can do another ADU, and this is your low income ADU. You have 3 units, you have 3 additional units for 4 total dwellings on one lot, guys, if you know this code. Do you guys realize that? Now, yes, sir.
Is it all county or just San Diego proper?
I don't know for sure. It's San Diego. I think it's San Diego County, right? Not county, just city. Okay, that's the city of San Diego, okay? Now, there's gonna be, like, each county slightly different. A lot of them adapt very similar codes within different municipalities. Now, within the city limits, a lot of times you can just get larger density. Once you get outside of the city limits and it becomes county, a lot of times they try to restrict density a little bit to preserve the land, okay? So I'm just gonna give you the maximum in the dense areas of San Diego, because you're gonna look at this slightly different. Because if you look at some of these houses, and you're going to look at it from an underwriting perspective, sometimes it doesn't make sense to go in and pay for this piece of shit $1.5 million or $1.8 million, right? Like, you're looking at it, it's this little 1,700 square foot, 1950s built San Diego house that ain't worth a shit, and you're sitting back going, I'm going to pay $1.8 million for it? Okay, I want you to pay attention here, guys, because now this paper right here, if you go into the Section 8 housing codes, you could put in that address. There's sections that it'll tell you how much that paper voucher is worth. Here in the city, guys, for a little 2-bed, 2-bath, you could make as much as $3,000 a month off of this additional ADU. And what's your cost to build that? It's just one extra dwelling unit. And here's what's cool, guys. You could go back out, and for the exact same price that you paid for this lot with this house, you could sell this front house right there for the same price that you paid for all of this. You could collateralize this to build this with very little to no money out of your pocket, and then you could sell this when you're done through what's called condo law, get all your money back. All this land was free. How expensive is land in San Diego, guys? Fucking expensive. Expensive. But now you just got all this land for free back here. You just increased it by 3 dwelling units. You can live on that shit forever, or you could sell them. I wouldn't sell them. I would just keep them. That's what we're doing over in Washington State, because we have what's called the cottage code over there. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, in addition to this, ladies and gentlemen, there's a multifamily code that has to do with the ADU code too. So it says, how many of you guys own like duplexes or fourplexes and stuff in here? Okay, cool. Did you know that here in San Diego, you can double your unit count up to 8 total units? If you have 8 units now, you can increase it by 8 additional units, guys. So if you have a fourplex, you can make it 8 units. If you have an 8-unit apartment complex, you can make it 16 units. You can go vertical on it. Do you know that? How many of you guys realize that? You guys can go straight into the ground. You can put some pylons in there. You can go vertical in the exact same spot. If it's a single family, if it's a single story, 4-unit apartment complex, you can go vertical on it and put 4 more units, and the code complies. Make sense? Okay, are you guys following me here? I'm talking about free land, guys. I'm talking about how to look at real estate. It's very, very, very important. There's very few areas in the country that do this. Now, those of you guys that have the ability to do it, California, it's one of the only good laws you guys have. Washington State, same thing. Okay, we're able to go in and take advantage. Oregon has the same thing. So we can go in. Phoenix is starting to adapt it right now as well. And we could take 8 units and turn it into 16. So when you find duplexes and fourplexes, guys, you could double them up to 8 units. Okay, you could double. If there's only 4 units on there now, you can only get 4 more units. If there's 6 units on there now, you can only get 6 more units. Does that make sense? You can't do whatever the unit count is plus 8 units. You can just double what you have up to 8 additional units. Make sense? Okay, how many of you guys are learning some stuff here about your own municipality? Okay, so understand, ladies and gentlemen, land, this lot is worth what this house is in value plus the land. Guys, the land is where the money is at, okay, here in California. Now, how many of you guys have followed my content, guys, for a little while? Raise your hand, guys. Okay, you guys don't hear me talk about this shit very much, do you? Because I'd be failing about 80% of the United States. Guess where the rest of the continental United States is going right now in dense areas? Places like Atlanta, places like downtown Dallas. They're going to start acclimating all this stuff. To your guys' benefit, California is the godfather of these codes, and it's already set in place. And so the thing is guess what the rest of the country is doing? They're adapting your guys' codes in the dense development areas, and they're utilizing your guys' building codes as affirmation on how to set up the ADU requirements nationwide. You guys already have them. Make sense? Okay? It's only available in about 20% of the continental United States right now. That's why I don't talk about it, because I'd fail the other 80%. But since I'm in California, I'm going to favor you guys. You guys want to underwrite the potential of one of these lots? You guys want to do that? Okay, let's do it. I don't even know what I'm looking for, but I'm going to look for it right here. I know what I'm looking for, but I don't know what I'm going to be given. Let's put it that way, okay? Let's do this in reality, guys, and I want you guys to see how I look at real estate, okay? I do this with commercial assets, and I do it with residential assets. Some of my best projects, guys, are strategic repositioning of old distressed piece of shit real estate. My Tacoma property was an old bowling alley. I bought the entire friggin' bowling alley as a business. I friggin' leveled it and I built 136 units. I bought it all in, construction, land, everything, $16 million. 18 months later, I landed up getting a cash out refinance, and the appraised value of that asset per the bank and the income on it, $32 million. I walked away with $10 million in my pocket and an asset that produced a 7% cap rate ongoing. I still own it today. Okay? Old bowling alley. Okay? My Youngtown project, it was an old piece of shit office building, guys. It was only 30% leased, 70% vacant. It was for sale for almost 4 years. I bought the property from a wholesaler that knew me. He sold it to me for $200,000 over list price. The bank, Genesis Capital, based out of here in California, if you guys are familiar with them, they thought I was freaking crazy. They're like, Jerome, did you realize this property's been for sale for 4 years? Why are you paying $200,000 over list price? And I go, yeah, the wholesaler, he's a dick. He's my friend, but he's a dick. I have to pay him that because he knows what I'm going to do with the property. And so I've overpaid $200,000 over list price, $1.8 million for a piece of shit office building, guys. I was all into the entire project for $14.6 million. I turned that project into a 104 unit apartment complex. I converted part of the office to 44 units and then went vertical with 60 units. That property, when it was done, before it was done, it was appraised at $36 million. Cap rate started doing this on me. So the value when it was done was $31 million. We walked away with a $7 million cash out refi on that thing. I still own it today and that thing still prints cash every single day. Make sense? I've done that with with Hawthorne Inns and Suites. I've done that with La Quintas. I've done that with all kinds of different assets, guys. The value of what you're doing is in the land and the creativity of that land. Make sense? Okay? You guys don't have to do projects that big. All you need is a little house. Okay, that's it. And let me show you the possibilities and the potential of a little house. Okay? Houses for sale in San Diego for under $1.5 million. Yes, ma'am.
I have an example. Could you use my example?
Do you have a lot with a house on it?
It's a commercial piece of property that has a single family house in the back, a studio.
I can. I can either use yours or I could even use this one right here at 7857 every Point, San Diego. It's 2,200 square foot house, $1.16 million. I don't know what the lot size is on it. Let me see what the lot looks like. I'll plug this into Landglide. Watch, let me do this real quick. And I'm just gonna, that way I can give you guys something that really works. And I could even use yours. I just wanna do something random though. Is it okay if I do something random? Okay, I just wanna do it random, guys. So I just pulled this up on Google, and it's really the first listing I looked at. It may not even work, but let me pull this up, guys, because I want you guys to see the potential of this. And I also want you guys to understand how simple this is. Because you know what the biggest thing is, that you guys question yourselves. You guys go out, and the hardest thing, I didn't realize this with people. When I started doing this shit, like if I wanted a project this week, and I didn't know shit about anything, none of what I do now, I would find a project no matter if it was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, or today. Because I didn't look at it the way out of fear. I looked at everything as opportunity. Does that make sense? Most of you guys look at shit scared. And because you look at it scared, you never see opportunity because you're too fucking scared. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make any sense. Stop being scared, guys. Okay? Doesn't make any sense. Okay? Like, start functioning with a little bit of opportunity. Guys, stop looking at the damn glass half empty. Okay? I've never looked at it like that. I look at everything as an opportunity. Make sense? And then if I prove to myself that there was no opportunity there, I just walk away from it. That's why I've never lost money on any single deal. So when you look at stuff, you got to look at it from an opportunity standpoint, but you got to use logic too. Okay? But if you function on fear, you'll never be able to do this. So I go in, I look at the potential of this lot first, and then I let it prove to me that it doesn't work. So let's see if it proves to me it doesn't work. It's the first listing that came up. If you guys want to pull it up, it's 7857 Embry, E-M-B-R-Y, Point, San Diego. Okay? Now, I'm going to take this address, and I'm going to put it into Landglide. If you guys do not have Landglide, you should. Okay? Landglide. Landglide, yep. It's about $100 subscription every year, and it's worth every fucking penny. Okay, because I can go in, and now let me look at the survey of this lot. So if I go into Landglide, and I'm going to show it to you guys, and I'll draw it for you guys on the board so we can look at it. Now, check this shit out, guys. It's Landglide. Landglide. Glide. Glide. Okay. Now, when we go in, let me look at this lot. Okay, check this out, guys. Look at, guys. Look at this stuff. Guys, it's the first one I pulled up. Oh, that is a rooftop on there. There's a little bit of land in the back, though, okay? So watch. If you look at this one, there's a little bit of land in the front and a little bit of land in the back. You may have to restructure. It looks like this one's, there's an ADU already built back there, but have they used all their ADU potential? They only have one. They only have maybe this one right here. So if you look at that address, it's 7857 Embry Point, guys. $1.2 million, okay? $1.2 million purchase price. 1.2 million. Now, this one may not be perfect, but watch. It's the only listing we looked at yet, guys. We only looked at the one. There's a little corner lot right here on this corner that isn't built on yet, okay? All I have to meet is a 4-foot setback, yeah? Like that corner part right there. This is my lot right here. I just have to meet a 4-foot setback from there to this house right there. And 4 feet from this other house right here. This is all patio space,
What about
okay?
from the property line?
Then we could even do right here, 4-foot setback.
What about from the property line? Do you have to have 5 feet?
5 feet on the side lot lines, but 5 feet on the side lot line and 4 foot from the other dwelling unit. We have now attached units. Attached units, you can build an attached unit and double up the size of that dwelling up to 1,200 square feet in addition to the ADU. So, like on this one, the way this lot lays, long lot like this. Okay, the house sits with a garage right here. It kind of steps back. It goes back over here, patio back here, and then it has an ADU that's right here. Okay, that's about how the lot looks right. To me, it looks like I could rip out this concrete and I can do something with this entire area right here. Okay, now I could potentially go in and even do something where I add on to this part right here and do something where I do an attached unit, separate this somehow from the garage, and maybe do a front unit, a front house, and a back house that's attached, and do this under condo code, and it still complies with the ADU code, okay? We could go in and offer this one at low income. And just because it's low income, guys, doesn't mean you're going to get trash in there. You can go in, you can still pick your tenants. We have properties that we have affordability components on. In fact, most of them, where we'll give up 15% to low income people in regular apartment complexes, guys, to get tax abatements on these properties nationwide. And there's tons of affordability components you can add onto it, not just here in California, but nationwide. When you add those affordability components to your build here or anywhere in the country, you can pick your tenants. If they don't comply and they don't meet your minimum requirements, you don't lease to them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you don't have to pick a piece of shit, okay? Just because they're low income doesn't mean it. My mom made that very clear to me when I was a kid. She goes, Jerome, just because they're poor doesn't mean that there's an excuse for being dirty. She goes, I friggin' grew up poor. You know, my mom said, my mom grew up in a house with no friggin', like with dirt floors in it. She goes, and my mom was never dirty, my grandma. And my mom made it very clear to us when we were young, because my parents grew up, their first language was Spanish. They didn't teach it to us because they were discriminated against when they were babies, when they went to school and didn't speak English. And so to protect us, they didn't teach us Spanish. And so I don't know Spanish like I should, but that was the reality of it. Make sense? And so my mom made it very clear to me. She goes, just because someone's poor doesn't make it all right for them to be dirty. Okay? So just because somebody's in a financial situation where they can barely afford doesn't make them a bad tenant. You can pick your tenant. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So you can go in, pick a damn good tenant and put them in this one right here, build an ADU right here, and even add another ADU right here and follow this exact same footprint. Yes, ma'am.
So does an AD unit has to be mortar, or can it be like the manufactured homes or the container homes?
As long as it passes building code, you got to talk to you got to get your structural engineer, your civil engineer, and you got to be able to make sure that it passes building codes. Your building officials can do it. If you put it on a permanent foundation, I don't see why not, but it has to pass code. Make sense? Okay? You'll talk to your building officials about that. Now,
I'm a general contractor. Yes, you can.
yeah.
Yes.
So when you go in, guys, you can go in, you can do modified builds, you can do prefab, you can do stick build, block, masonry, put on a permanent foundation, you can do any of that stuff. Now, when we go in, guys, let's underwrite this now. You guys want to do it on your calculators? Okay, remember, guys, this is the first one. It may not work out like this, but for me to go look at it, maybe it does. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
If the land has a slope, what will happen?
If the land has slope,
Yes.
build a retaining wall and underwrite the retaining wall as part of the cost of the land, because it's money that you're going to give to the land. So if it needs a retaining wall to account for the slope, then underwrite that land. I'm not going to get that technical into it. Don't go there, because you're going to throw everybody off bases and you're even going to confuse yourself. Don't go there, guys. Let's talk flat land right now, because we only have an hour and a half. If I spend an hour talking about slopes and shit, you guys lose the concept here. Does that make sense? Okay, so I just don't get off focus. I'll answer that at a different time. There's all kinds of variables, right? Utilities, gas, electric, all kinds of shit. Let me give you guys the potential basis of this before you guys start going sideways on me, okay? Let me give you the potential. This is one property. I don't even know if it would work, but let's look at it from a potential standpoint so you guys understand how to look for opportunity, okay? Does that make sense? Don't come from a place of fear, scarcity, slopes, and don't add all these limitations in there. The civil engineers, they'll help you with that shit. That's all, that's the best I can tell you. When you go in, I'm not going to confuse people. You're going to have to get a civil engineer. You're going to have to get architects. You're going to go through what's called the process of entitlement. And as you go through the process, you're going to need a survey. You're going to need an architect. Here in California, you're going to need engineers. You're going to need a landscape architect as well, because you're going to have to comply with the landscaping. Okay? You're going to need a structural engineer, and you're going to also need a civil engineer, and you're going to need a plumbing and mechanical, P&M. Okay? And with that stuff right here, guys, you can go get permits and money. Okay? Permits and money. Okay? Those two things. You get permits and money with these two things. You're going to need all of these. Now, we're not going to get into the depth of this today, but I'm going to explain to you guys that this is needed and a business model is needed to be able to go in and get assessed values, okay? Now, we're going to go in, we're going to look at what rent rates are going for in that given area. How do we do that? We just simply call any house that's for rent. You can go in and get a property management company. You can Google residential property management companies in San Diego, and you can just get the rent rates from them. Or you look at comps, guys. Now, even though these are ADUs, once it's built, it's no longer an ADU. It's an individual freestanding dwelling. It is a friggin' home. Does that make sense? So comps now go based on price per square foot. And now what I'm looking for is I'm looking for two things. The benefit to California is you don't only have one exit, you have two exits. And if I only have one exit, I ain't buying it anyways. I want to know that I have multiple business models to function on. Not only do you have two business models, but you have even a third one. And I'm going to explain all three of them really quick to you guys. So let's say that the market is really frigging good in the renting market and rents are really high like they are right now. But let's say that resale values, because of interest rates, shit's not selling. Rent the damn thing and get the rent rates on it. Now, here's the benefits two different ways when you rent it. When you rent it, you could go in and assess it as a multi-unit dwelling, and you can assess the value based on income and a cap rate. Comps go out the window, guys. I bought a house in Miami, Florida, off of Meridian and Espanola. It's considered a boutique hotel where short-term rentals are not allowed. Same thing can happen right here in San Diego. It's a dwelling that has 8 rooms on it. Those 8 rooms allowed the income to value that asset at $4 million when I bought it. Houses were only appraising for $2 million based on price per square foot. I paid $4 million for this house, guys. When I bought it, I was a little scared. I thought, fuck, man, this thing better cash produce. And I never overpaid double for a house. That house today is worth $8 million because COVID hit. Rent rates ran up. The value of the asset doubled because rent rates doubled in Miami. So now, that same house I paid $4 million for, based on this right here, the house is worth $8 million right off of Meridian and Espanola. If you guys are familiar with South Beach, it's in the friggin' heart of South Beach. Best investment, small little investment that I've ever made. Simple little deal based on the value of the asset and the revenue that it produces. So you underwrite it. You use this formula to underwrite the value of that asset. So you have that as one business model, okay? Second business model is you sell it all off as one business right here. All is one business right here based on revenue, and you can do it based on this. Or you could sell it off individually as a rental unit based on this, okay? One or the other. Or you can go in, and if house values are really high and rents on price per square foot are higher, you can also go in and you can sell it as an individual home. This one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. Does that make sense? So if you go in and you sell, and this house right here is worth $1.2 million right here. How much is a 1,200 square foot apartment renting for in the heart of San Diego someplace in San Diego proper? How much? Brand new construction, guys. About 4,400 bucks? Okay, so about $4,400. Okay, so we got $4,400 a month, give or take. Okay, not a lot for San Diego. Now, we have a little 500 square foot rental right here. This thing's just a little studio, guys. How much can you rent a nice studio for here in San Diego? How much? 1,900? 2,000 bucks? Okay, so now we get 2K right here. Okay, now we separate this. And now this is like a big home, right? We're going to make this beautiful right here. And we got 2 units. We blow out a wall. We put a door right here. We have this. We can put a door anywhere on this. You know, screw the garage. Who cares about the garage? You can go in. You do a little bit, maybe a little bit of parking back here for these units over here. Maybe you can still keep the garages. But how much would each one of these, I don't remember the square footage of that. Let's take a look at it real quick. We're going to make that front unit look new again. And we're going to remodel it at the time we're doing everything else. Okay? So let's see what the house is. 2,200 square feet? Okay, so we have 2,200 square feet. Let's say we add another 500 square feet onto that 2,200 square feet, guys. So now we have 2,700 square feet. We got 2 units that are each about 1,350 square feet. Okay, so we got 1,350 square feet. How much can we rent 1,350 for? Can we rent them for another $4,000 each? They're attached, so they'll probably rent for less. Detached units rent and sell for more money. Just know that. By about 15% variance between detached and attached units. So now we're going to probably get a little lower rent on these, but can we say that if these are 1,300 square feet, it's bigger than that one, but it's not new, but we're renovating these, can we get $4,000 a month for these ones? Yes or no? Yeah? Okay. So 400, 4K, 4K. Okay? Now, when we go in, guys, now here's the thing. Let me explain something to you guys about affordability components and low-income housing. It doesn't mean you have to rent to low-income only. You just have to make it available to low-income renters if they come in and rent when there's availability. Does that make sense? So if you sit and wait and nobody qualifies, but you find a market value tenant, you could go in and you could rent it to them at market value. Now, you don't even have to do low-income paper vouchers. What's the average income here in San Diego, guys? What's the average income here? You guys know? Okay, let's find out. What's the average living wage in San Diego, California? Oh shit, it's low. Yeah. What is the average household income in San Diego? $103,000, guys. $103,000. So it's actually not bad. Now, when we do $103,000, ladies and gentlemen, and you go in based on the average household income, most of the time when you underwrite this, it complies. Your average rent rates comply with the low income, with the affordability housing rule. So you could almost rent this at market value. Okay? If it's a variance, it's a very small variance, maybe $50 a month, $100 a month difference. Okay? So now, let's look at this from an income producing perspective. Okay? We have 4K, that's 8 plus another 4K, that's 12,400, that's $14,400 per month. Okay? $14,400 per month. Okay? This is the gross income potential. That's the potential of this property, okay? It doesn't have any more potential than that. Now, let's say that there's some revolution in tenancy. There's going to be times you're fixing carpet, walls, whatever it is, and there's a revolution of tenants. So here in San Diego, it's 95% occupancy on most multi-unit dwellings. So if we go in and we take a 95% occupancy on $14,400 a month, okay, so if we go in, follow this, guys, and if this goes over your head, just understand the finished value of this, okay? I'm going to give this to you guys the way it's underwritten by a bank, okay? If you lose it and it goes over your head, don't freak out, okay? So we take $14,400. We're going to annualize that. We're going to multiply it by 12. That means it gives you the potential of producing $172,800 per year. This is your gross income potential, okay? Now, based on 95% occupancy, we take 95% of this times 0.95. That means you have a gross operating income equivalent to $164,160 per year, okay? Now, to find a net operating income, right here, guys, you're going to take is equal to your gross operating income minus expenses. Okay? Now, to run this place, you have property taxes, you have property insurance. You're going to have to blow and clean it, right? You can't just be a slumlord. So let's say that off of this revenue, the average 5-unit apartment complex nationwide, according to CBRE, it takes about 19% of the gross revenue to afford it. Expenses here in California are a little bit higher. Let's call it 25% in order to run it, just to be conservative. Does that make sense? You guys getting it? Okay? I want to be a little more conservative just to be able to put some downward stress on the business model. So if we take 25% of this income to pay property taxes, to pay the water bill, let's take 25% of this for expenses. Okay? So if we take 20 times 0.25, that's $41,000 and $41,040 a year. So we're going to take 160 minus 41,040. Okay? Now, minus 160, that equals a net operating income equivalent to $123,120 on your net operating income. Now remember, value equals NOI divided by cap rate, okay? Now, you can go in, guys, on a project like this. Let's say you use this as an owner occupancy. Let's say you move into one of these units, and let's say you only move into one of these units for maybe a year. And let's say you land up taking this, and I'm just going to give you the potential list. Let's say you are the tenant right here in this scenario. I would charge myself rent under my LOI for this reason right here alone. You're going to get that money back. You're going to charge yourself rent. You're going to take it from Jerome Maldonado and put it into JM Properties, right? So you're going to put it right in from one account into the other account for value purposes and auditing purposes and banking purposes for resale. Does that make sense? You're taking it from your right hand and giving it to your left hand on fair market value. Just fair market value, guys. And now you go in, you underwrite it like this. You can go get an FHA loan. It's a one-time closed loan where you do a construction to perm loan, guys. 95% loan to value, okay? You can collateralize this as your front dwelling as your 5% if you want to. I'm going to talk about that here in a second, okay? I'm going to show you guys how to get the land paid for. Now, when we go in and we do that, guys, we can come in and we can get a very low interest rate. Let's say that we get this we could probably get it for like 5.5% interest or lower. But let's say that we go in and we just do it at 6%, okay? So if we do a 6% interest rate, our cap rate is 6% right here, and we take our NOI and plug it in, 123,120 divided by 6%, okay? Okay, we go in, we do 123,120 divided by 0.06, okay? It's going to be 2,052,000, yeah? Okay, so the value equals $2,052,000, okay? Now, I don't care for the numbers right here based on this $1.2 million purchase price, but here's what I could do. I could go in, I could knock this off, I could sell this right here, and I can value it based on that and just own the back units, and I can go back in and sell this entire front section right here for $1.2 million and do a cutoff with a backyard right here, okay? Now I go in, I'm zeroed out, I use this as leverage, I don't even do this right here, I use this as leverage, sell it, I have no capital gains taxes if I sell it for a premium, and you go and negotiate it, and now you take the value of this back asset and you build this for free.
Thank you,
Yes.
Is it possible to take this $2 million multi-dwelling property, scale it up, like just double it,
Yep.
and then double that number?
Yeah, you can. If you have multifamily on it already. Because you can only double the density if you already have multifamily. You can double it up to 8 units. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now, guys, I'm doing this straight organic right off first property that I'm looking at over here. Now, that's an $800,000 increase in value, okay? That's an increase in value of $850,000, okay? So we have a value increase of $850K. Okay? Now, provided we've paid full price for that. Okay? That's an increase of $850. Now, let's pay attention to this real quick because we have 1,200 square feet. Okay? We have 1,200 square feet. This is already here, guys. We don't have to do anything with this but remodel it. This is already here. We're going to add on to this. Let's say that we have to add on 500 square feet, convert that. Let's say that we're doing it all from brand new. And let's say that we're adding on 700 square feet, okay? So now we have a total of 1,900 square feet of additional area that we're adding on. The average price per square foot to build, guys, nationwide is $141 a square foot. Here in San Diego, it will cost you guys right about $200 a square foot to build that. You could build it for less than $200 a square foot, but you're going to have to source your labor outside of San Diego. The reason why is because the cost of labor here in San Diego, the cost of living is expensive. So the cost to do business with people who do business in San Diego is going to be more. But within an hour, are there areas where the cost of living is substantially less? Yeah. Like in Kirkland, I go out and I source my labor out of Tacoma, Redmond, 45 minutes away, but my prices are conducive to the same prices I'm paying in Arizona and New Mexico. So you can source your labor out of San Diego. But if you come in and you source your labor even here at $200 a square foot, let's say that you pay $200 a square foot to renovate this. What's $200 times 1,900, guys, to build that new? How much? $380,000? Okay, so you have $380,000. So you have 190 times, so 1,900 times $200 per square foot is 380. And let's say that in these other dwellings, you guys put another $80,000 into renovating them. Now you're at $460,000 all in, okay? You still have a $400,000 net profitability if you sold the whole thing based on this business model. What if it took you an entire year to add on this 1,900 square feet, get it stabilized? How are you doing making an extra $400,000 net on that one property, guys? How are you doing? Not too bad, right? And you're only building an extra 1,900 square feet on that property. Everything else is just logistics. Everything else is just complying with code. And you don't have to go do it. You go in and you let a good architect do it for you, okay? Now, let's talk about cost and let's talk about expense, and I'm going to talk about underwriting this, okay? Because here's what happens, guys. In order to do this, in order to get money from the bank, which you guys weren't taught in school, you need to go to the bank with a budget spreadsheet, okay? The budget spreadsheet for you guys here in California, if you're doing an ADU, you already have a dwelling unit on there that holds value to that asset. Now, for the construction, you're going to have to underwrite the cost to do business on this spreadsheet right here. You can get a spreadsheet just like this from any bank, guys. But knowing how to use this spreadsheet is the key. Does that make sense? Now, for a lot of you guys, you come in and you sit back and go, okay, how do I get a conforming loan where I go in and and I have to put 20% down on a commercial loan, provided I don't do FHA? Where do I get the 20% to put down on that property? There's two ways to do it, guys. You can either put 20% of the finished value of that asset out of pocket, okay? Now, the problem is that these rents don't exist yet, okay? So it's going to be valued based on price per square foot and the value of these dwelling units. So now the bank's going to look at it based on comps, and they're going to look at it based on what's called pro formas, what other dwellings are renting for in the area right now currently. And they're going to look at it based on the value of the asset on price per square foot. Does that make sense? Okay, do I still got you guys with me? Yeah? Am I losing anybody in here? Stop bullshit. I know I'm losing somebody. All right? Okay, listen, guys. Did I tell you guys I was going to give you a shit ton of value? Yeah? Okay, are you guys learning some shit, though? Look, guys, I just want to lay on the table and explain this to you guys the way this shit works. I picked the first property that came up here in San Diego, and I'm just showing you the potential of this one property. Are there better properties than this? Oh, yeah. Is there worse properties than this? Oh, yeah. But I'm just showing you the potential of one property, okay? Okay. Now, when we go in and we do this budget spreadsheet, we're going to have the cost of the existing dwelling here. Okay? That's going to be the $1.2 million. Now, here in California, shit's just more expensive. I could get this done anywhere else in the country for between 10 to 15K. Here in California, it's going to cost you about $30,000 to $35,000 to get this done. Okay? That's truth be told, guys. Now, that cost will come into this money right here. This is part of this expense right here of you doing business. Okay? That's part of that. Your soft cost and hard costs. Okay? These are your soft costs. Now, this $35,000 is going to consist of your survey work that's going to probably cost you about $3,000 worth of survey work that has to get done. You're probably going to have about $5,000 in civil engineering, maybe more, maybe $8,000 in civil engineering. That's going to be your most important trade engineer that you have. Your architect, guys, is going to produce this shit in CAD. The structural component of this is all going to be available to them right there. The structural engineer basically gets paid about $5,000 to $8,000 to look at the CAD drawings, make sure that he checks the boxes, takes an hour, signs it, stamps it, and he gets an $8,000 check. No shit, that's what he's doing. Make sense? That's what your structural engineer is really doing, guys, for about $8,000. Now, you go in, and you got your landscape architect, they're going to probably charge you about another $5,000 to $7,000, and your plumbing and mechanical engineer is going to charge you to come in. Now, what's going to end up happening with is that most dwellings now in California, in order to hit the 5 energy codes, you have to do solar, okay? So that's going to be probably a requirement. It's probably be about a $16,000 expense to $20,000 expense out of this price right here. Does that make sense? It's part of your cost of doing business in California. It's the only way you can get 5 energy credits here in California. Everywhere else nationwide, you need 4 energy credits. Here in California, you need 5, okay? And so in order to do that, you're going to have to spend $16,000. That's why your building costs are also a little higher. And that's why you're going to spend a little tiny bit more. Now, to get them to stamp, certify, and do all of that stuff here in California, it's going to cost you this much. This is non-negotiable, guys. You will indefinitely have to have $30,000 to $35,000 out of pocket in order to make this work. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I want you guys to pay attention because that's easy. You know how you guys ever went to the bank, guys? And when you go to the bank, you're standing in line at Bank of America and they come up to you with that little iPad. They're like, "Hi, ma'am. How are you today? Can I help you with anything? What are you here to do today? You're going to do a deposit? You're going to do, what can I help you with today?" And just as uncomfortable as you are right now is about how uncomfortable you get when they come up to you and there's a line in the bank. Yeah? Right? Right. Okay. See, I'm just putting it on that because you guys all felt that exact same thing. Haven't you? Haven't you? Yeah? Yeah. Now, what do you usually tell them? "Oh, I'm good. I'm all right." Right? Now, the one person that does it pulls them outside, makes their deposit. As they're doing their deposit, they're going, "Oh, ma'am, do you know you qualify for a Bank of America credit card today?"
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and now most people don't take it. Now, here's the thing, guys. You're a freshman in college, okay? You go register for your classes, okay? Right after you go to the registrar's office, you go where? To the bookstore to buy your books, right? What's in front of the bookstore your freshman year in college? There's a table that says Discover and Visa and MasterCard on it with an application. No money, no job, 18 years old, no business with a credit card. Here's your $1,000, $2,000 credit card with no income, no money, no job. Yeah? Okay. Why do I tell you that? Because banks make money on your debt. Now, you're building a house. You're building an apartment complex, okay? 95% of businesses, ladies and gentlemen, fail in the very first year. True statistics. 95% of businesses fail in the first year. Out of the 5% that make it, 80% of them do not turn a profit until year number 3. 80% of the 5% don't turn a profit till year number 3. You go do one deal that's valued at $2 million. Your gross annualized revenue is $2 million. You turn that thing and sell it, your net income for year number 1 is $400,000. You're in the top 0.2% of all business owners since the history of Adam and Eve. Make sense? That teller of Bank of America, they're going to give you a credit card. Make sense? Okay, next time you're there, say, oh, in fact, I do want to talk to you. Jerome told me I wanted to talk to you. Let's fill out that application, baby. I need a credit card. And you're going to take that credit card, whether it's $5,000, $10,000, and we're going to go to work with it. Does that make sense? Okay, now, here's the thing, guys. You guys got a link on your phone about 15 minutes ago for this perpetual money machine. Here's why, guys. Because it's an underwriting workshop that I'm doing in February, okay? I've only done like 5 of these in our entire time that we've been a business, okay? I did one in San Francisco last year. I just did one in Miami. And the reason I do these workshops is because they're an underwriting workshop. The first hour of the workshop is all building business lines of credit. Why? Because it's the first thing you need to do as a business owner in order to bridge over the gap so that this is never a question in your mind. The second thing we do after an hour and a half in there is we go in and we run through these spreadsheets from start to finish, okay? Let me explain why. When we go in, guys, this is going to have everything from the dwelling, the soft cost. It's going to have, that's all this stuff right here. It's going to have your foundation, your dirt work, your concrete work, your framing package, your framing labor, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, cabinets, doors, everything, all the way down, all items, okay? Now, your cost for this is going to be the $1.2 million plus the $380,000 plus $100,000. So the $460 plus you're going to have the $460 plus you're going to have the $1.2 million. So that's $1.66 million. $1.66 million. Okay? Now, when we go in, we're going to have this one for execution. And we're going to have this one for the bank. Okay? Now, this one for the bank is going to be based on asset value and comps, based on pro formas. That's where we got these numbers from. We got all these numbers before we broke ground. Remember this right here? You're going to function and execute based on this. You're not going to execute based on 2020 numbers. We're going to execute based on our worst case scenario on the current shitty state of the commercial market as it exists right now today. Make sense? Now, God willing, Jerome Powell leaves in March. We get somebody better. Interest rates go down even just a little bit, down to 5%. Guess what happens to values as interest rates go down? Values go up, guys. So if you underwrite it today at this valuation of $2 million and interest rates just go down to 5%, plug in 5% to this LOI right here. Take $123,120, guys, divided by 5%. Get rid of this and divide it by a 5% interest rate. What's the value of that asset?
$2,462,000.
You just increased your value by $400,000. The value of this asset just went up to $2.45 million? $2.46 million, guys. You just increased the value of your asset by $400K. Worst case scenario, you make $400. If interest rates go down, cap rates go down with it, you just increased your revenue. You have now $800,000 that you just increased your net worth by, guys, just based on a 1% reduction of interest rates. How cool is that? Okay? But worst case scenario, how are you doing with a $400,000 profit? You doing okay? Okay. Potential maybe making 8. Now, when we go and look at the bank ain't going to do it on the potential of it. But if we take this at $2,050,000, okay, so we take it at $2,050,000, and we underwrite all your expenses here at this valuation based on these rent rates from comps and pro formas on these rent rates here, and we're doing an owner occupancy on this thing and we take even 80% of this, what is 80% of $2,050,000, guys? What is 80% of that? What is it? 1.64 million dollars. $1.64 million. Okay, based on 80%. If you go in, you do an FHA loan, and you do a one-time close on an FHA loan at 95%, they'll give you 95% of the value of that asset if you own or occupy it. If you don't, you have $1.64 million. You're going to have to come up with $20,000 to do this entire build, and this is included in that cost. Okay, that's included in there. So now you come up with $20,000 to close on the loan. Your first line item is right here. You can go in, get a redistribution of this $35,000 that's already underwritten right here to the bank. The bank already approved it. And you can replace your income immediately, and you take that $35,000, and what do you do with it? You take it back to work. Does that make sense? You go back to work. Now, to replace this $20,000, everything is inflated by 15 to 20%. So when you go in here, guys, if you can manage this so that you bring some of this expenses down, if you're under on dirt work or under on framing or under on some of your labor, you can replace that 20% in this spreadsheet and get 100% of your money back before you're even built, and you'll be $0 out of pocket to build that entire asset right from utilizing this spreadsheet right here. You're going to have to come to the table with it, but by utilizing the spreadsheet and the budget spreadsheet, if the bank approves this spreadsheet and they approve it based on current comps and current pro formas, that money is yours to utilize for that project and for that project only. Now, we don't get paid until the back end, but you guys can go in and utilize the spreadsheets to go in and do a replacement of capital. How many of you guys would love to be into a project just like this for $0 out of pocket after the first 60 days of turning dirt, guys? Okay? Yes.
This is the situation where you are borrowing conventional lending, right? This is not a hard money loan.
It's not hard money or anything. I haven't even talked about that yet. That's just one type of lending. That's just conventional lending going to the bank, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Now, there's so many different ways. I don't even want to confuse you guys, but like I'm doing a deal right now with my camera guy, Alec, who's been my camera guy for the last 7 years. He's 29 years old, guys. He was doing the camera. I said, bro, when are you going to build a house, Alec? I said, how would it change your life if we just paid off your house? I said, how much do you owe? He goes, $305,000. I said, what if we were able to take that $305,000 you owe on your house, we put you into a better neighborhood, and you had no mortgage in the next 2 years? How would you be sitting? He goes, oh, shit, you'd be sitting good. He has 2 young boys, guys, 2 young boys. We went in, we got him a conventional loan, just like this, where he was only out of pocket initially for $40,000 to build a $1 million home as his very first spec home. We're about to turn dirt on it now in November. He landed up putting this out to a young lady that used to own the Gladiators. The Gladiators was a semi-pro football league in New Mexico. And so he went to her and just told her about it. She does fix and flips, and she's a realtor. She goes, I have a hard money guy that can probably get this done for you, Alec, if you can get the land purchased as an owner financing deal. So we landed up calling the broker back. We were supposed to buy the lot cash. We landed up calling the broker back. In fact, if there was somebody I was sitting here dealing with it in the cafeteria, in the restaurant right before I came in here. I talked to the realtor and I told her, I said, hey, look, we're thinking of doing this under an owner finance deal. I know you had told us no before, but now we're at the end of the year. And if we close on this right now, I know this was an inheritance property because we found out about the seller. They're going to land up subjected to 40% estate taxes. So that means that before the end of the year, if you don't have a tax strategy, that $150,000, they're going to land up having to pay about $60-some thousand in taxes to the IRS, which only makes the value to them worth about a $90,000 profit. Does that make sense? Why not take an owner finance deal? Let's push this over to next year. And let's put it into 2026 so they can think about it, maybe put it into an IRA, a Roth, something to be able to defer these assets, but it gives them time to think about it further than 30 days. Does that make sense? And we'll give you a premium on your interest rate of maybe like 8% or so, 9%, where they make more on the lot. And now Alec can go in, he has the lot, and we take the exact same entitlements. Your hard money lender wants to see the exact same shit the bank does. And now you take it, you go to a hard money lender, and he's going to land up getting hard money on it. And now all he's financing is the cost to build, which his cost to build is about $450,000 to build that house. And the $150,000 lot, there's only what he has in escrow right now, 10%. So all he had to come into the table with was $15,000 to buy the lot. Does that make sense? So that's another way. Now, we haven't even talked about private money. Okay? There's so many different ways, guys. This is the conventional way. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Now, how many people have ever done this in a perfect world to go get financing utilizing this spreadsheet and the set of plans this way? Anybody? Look around, guys. 2 guys. And I saw one of them going like this. Kind of, sort of. 3 guys. Okay? So look, guys. How many of you guys think you guys could function better if you guys understood how to do this correctly? Okay? This is what I didn't know back when I first got started. I created a debt-free company on accident, guys. It's a stupid way to build a business, but I did it, and to my benefit, it saved me in 2008. After the 2008 recession, I almost went bankrupt because I had too much retail, and I lost all my tenants. I didn't know how to underwrite like this. So I function like most of you guys do. You see a piece of real estate, you look at it, you go, I think I could rent it for this much. If it kind of makes sense in your brain, you go, I'm going to buy it. And that's your underwriting, yeah? Right? That's the vast majority of everybody's underwriting sitting here. It just has to make sense in your little brain. But it doesn't make sense to the bank. And that's why 90% of you guys go to a bank and they're like, no, this doesn't make sense. You can't do this, okay? The bank knows before you're going to fail before you fail. Because the bank underwrites just like this. That's why the bank doesn't lend you money. It doesn't lend you money because they don't like you. They just don't like your deal because your deal doesn't pencil. Does that make sense? The bank is your friend, ladies and gentlemen. If the bank doesn't like it, they're more financially vested in that asset than you are. They have 80% ownership of their money in your investment. If it doesn't make sense to them, it shouldn't make sense to you either. But you have to know how the banks are underwriting in order to get money from them. Does that make sense? Don't put your balls on the line unless you execute like the banks. How many of you guys have ever been to Vegas before? Okay? The Vegas functions on 4% odds, guys. They make billions of dollars and build billion-dollar casinos on 4% of your money. That's how they do it, on a 4% odd. If you function like the casinos with that 4% odd in your favor, you guys would live in Vegas. Does that make sense? Banks make money lending money to you guys. The difference is you guys haven't learned how banks operate, and you have to in order to go out and scale and de-risk your projects. That's how we've never lost money in any real estate transaction we have. To 2008, I got lucky. 2008, 2010, it was from sweat equity. I hung on by a thread because I function like you guys do. I didn't know how to underwrite correctly. I remember running with Bob Cantor, a good friend of mine up in Arizona. We were buying more distressed retail during the 2009, 10, 11 years after the recession. And he kept talking to me about cap rates. And I was embarrassed to tell him I didn't. I already owned like $20 million worth of real estate at that time. I didn't even know what a freaking cap rate was. And then one day I sat down, I told my wife, I was like, fuck, I need to figure out this cap rate thing. Bob keeps talking to me in cap rate. I don't know what the fuck Bob is talking about. And so I sat down and I started understanding cap rates. So to my benefit, by 2016, when I first bought my first apartment complex, I understood cap rates a little bit. And I went in and I bought my first apartment complex at an 8% cap rate in Tulsa, Arizona, 84 units, $7.2 million purchase. 9 months later, I bought a 74-unit apartment complex at a 7% cap rate right down the road, less units, $8.5 million. I paid more for it, and it had less units, and it wasn't even as nice of a complex. It was just a 1% difference in the cap rate. The value changed. 9 months later, I went back into Central Phoenix. I looked at another apartment complex, and I lost my shit. Cap rates dropped to 6% by 2017. I told the brokers, I told Brian Smuckler, who's still a good friend of mine at CBRE, I go, Brian, what the fuck are you smoking, bro? I go, what kind of dumbass would pay this type of money? I just paid this much for that asset, this much for that asset. Now you're asking for this much of a premium for this bullshit property? Fuck that, I'm building them. And that's what I literally said to Brian in 2017. That's when I built my Tacoma property, guys. And I was able to control my own cap rate. I built Tacoma and I stabilized it at a 15% cap rate for me, a 15% return on my money. Still cash flows today. Refinanced it at a 6% cap rate, still cash flows at 6% today on a 30-year fixed rate loan. Guys, I haven't touched it. Pulled $10 million out. I was able to control my own variables because I went ground up. Does that make sense? And since then, we've done a ton of development. I got $160 million under construction right now. Just follow my content. And we're trying to get another $200 million out of the ground. That's been taking us a friggin' long time to get it done because of banking and interest rates and the changes that have happened over the course of the last few years. But we're about to turn ground on another 4 apartment complexes that I've been trying to get out of the ground for the last 2 years. Make sense?